This is the AEW Dynamite August 7, 2024 full show results video which takes place at LJVM Coliseum in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The show started with a match between Fletcher vs MJF, and if Fletcher wins, he earns a shot at MJF's AEW American Championship. The result of this match was MJF defeated Fletcher by pinfall with the Brainbuster. Post-match, Will Ospreay finds himself barricaded in his room but shoves his way through the door. MJF completely unnecessarily blasts referee Paul Turner in the face with the title belt and lies in wait, Dynamite diamond ring on his pinky, and he blasts Kyle in the face with a loaded punch. Mounted punches with the ring, busting Fletcher's forehead open and tearing at the wound as he tells Ospreay the blood is on his hands. He says now he's gonna do what Will didn't have the balls to do and draws Kyle up, underhooks. He calls for the Tiger Driver 91, but Ospreay makes it to the ring just in time. He calls the ringside doctor over as he cradles his bloodied friend close to his chest, and the doctor comes over but Fletcher is slow to respond. Kyle eventually sits up and Don Callis berates him for not using the screwdriver and Will for not being there. The next match happened between Mariah May vs Viva Van, and the result of this match was Mariah May defeated Viva Van by pinfall with Storm Zero. Post-match, Mariah is given a large wrapped poster board and unwraps it as a photo poster of Toni Storm cradling her. We all can see it says, "Die Mariah die," and Toni Storm attacks but gets cut off with a knee to the midsection. May comes over with the shoe, Toni yanks it out of her hand but referees and security swarm to pull them apart. Then we saw a match between Brian Keith vs Katsuyori Shibata, and the result of this match was Katsuyori Shibata defeated Brian Keith by submission with a cross armbar. Post-match, the Learning Tree puts boots on Shibata and Hook makes his return to save Shibata, clearing the ring of the two lesser Learning Tree fellows, lighting Chris up with elbows until the veteran bails and seethes in the ramp. Orange Cassidy is interviewed backstage and he says he's still fighting even with his teammates stranded because he knows a couple of local boys who were actually looking for a fight. Renee Paquette tells him to let her know if he needs anything, and he asks if she wants to wrestle for him, but she does not. Back from the commercial, Renee Paquette interviews Hangman Adam Page. He says there's a man he wants to take everything from and leave him with only the ashes of his pride, but a dozen other dumbasses have gotten in his way, and justice delayed is justice denied, but he will have what he wants. We get a sit-down Jim Ross interview with AEW World Champion Shane "Swerve" Strickland, and he says he's beyond motivated, and going from a tag match to the main event means the world to him. He doesn't care about Danielson being a parent and asks what happens when his body gives out. Not only can he beat Bryan Danielson, he will beat Bryan Danielson and then his legacy will belong to Swerve. Then we saw a match between Beast Mordos, Roderick Strong, and Rush vs FTR and Orange Cassidy, and the result of this match was FTR and Orange Cassidy won the match by pinfall with Shatter Machine on Rush. Post-match, the Acclaimed come down to do some plot with FTR, and Dax Harwood says they respect what they've done for AEW, but this goes beyond AEW. He gives up on the thread and says he's not eloquent and he just wants to fight, and they rush the wall of security to brawl. Security tries hard to hold them back, and Christopher Daniels is directing traffic. Then we saw a handicap match between Clara Carter and Jasmine Howe vs Camille, and the result of this match was Camille won the match by pinfall with a Dominator and a double pin. Post-match, Mercedes Moné tells us to say hello to the Brick House, Camille, and does Britt Baker's finger-pointing thing for CEO, before telling everyone to not waste their breath because she's not here tonight because her besties the Young Bucks suspended her until Wembley. She says Britt Baker was the first signed here, but people never say she's best, but her 2 titles let you know that she's the best in AEW. Tony Schiavone gets on the mic and says he's just been informed by Christopher Daniels that Tony Khan overruled the Elite and lifted Britt's suspension and she's standing by via satellite. She tells Mercedes she can get a bodyguard and get her suspended, but she can't run, and when she makes a commitment, she sees it through the end, unlike Moné who takes her ball and goes home the second she runs into any kind of roadblock. AEW is just the current flair for her, and this all ends at All In, and if you doubt for a single second she's not going to find a way to get to her, well, you can trust her, she's a doctor. In the main event of the show, we saw an Anything Goes match between American Dragon, Bryan Danielson vs Jeff Jarrett, and the result of this match was Bryan Danielson defeated Jeff Jarrett by pinfall with a chair-assisted Buseiku knee. Post-match, both men's seconds come to the ring to check on them. Ricky Steamboat gets into the ring with Bryan, Double J is bleeding wicked from the ear, and Ricky checks on him too, helping him up. Danielson gives Jarrett a round of applause and Steamboat lifts both men's arms at once and Double J shakes Bryan's hand and pulls him in for a hug. Shane, Swerve, Strickland interrupts them, and Strickland talks about how we get to see 3 legends of TBS programming, Jeff Jarrett, Ricky Steamboat, and Swerve Strickland. He says Bryan's one of the greatest of all time, and that's why it's going to be a huge honor to retire him and take control of his legacy. He wants a warm-up before All In, too, so next week on Dynamite he wants to wrestle Wheeler Yuta. Yuta gets in his face and says he ain't a damn warm-up, but Swerve continues and tells Danielson he wants him to have a front row seat to see why he's the most dangerous man in AEW, and the show goes off the air.